Good evening, it's Jules Wyman here from juleswyman.com, and oh, that's got a bit bright, but never mind. As you can see by the big hand, it is 7 o'clock here in the UK, and it's Monday the 6th of November, and that means that it's a confidence conversation time. Now, I was just about to check whether it's live, but I can already see that I've got one person watching. So when you do join, do say hi. If you don't know the routine yet, just drop down, just say hi. You don't need to join in any of the rest of the conversation if you choose not to. But it's great to have you on board, whoever it is, and be part of the conversation. So I am still going to double check that. Oh, that's a very bizarre thing that's just popped up. So just bear with me 1 second whilst I just check this is going live. Oh, there's a thumb that bounced across. So I'm assuming that that is. So whoever you are, I didn't get to see who that was, but thank you very much for letting me know. Just realised that it's very close. I was doing very close to the screen then. That's not very pleasant for you. So I do apologise. So good evening. And welcome to this confidence conversation. And my aim for this evening is to have a conversation. I do have the topic that I want to kind of throw out there and see what sticks, what's helpful, what people are interested in, and where it leads is one that the reason it's kind of come to the fore, as often happens, is it's just something I've noticed, and it's more that actually this one is over a longer period of time. And it's something that I've kind of thought about a lot as to whether I bring this topic, because it could be opening quite a big can of worms when I talk about what's stopping you. But nonetheless, I wanted to bring it to the table and see where it goes. Now, if you are joining for the first time and you've never watched one of these before live, then as I say, please do say hi. It's nice to just at least be able to give you a first name shout out, even if I'm not able to give you, even if you don't want to join in the rest of the conversation. And as you will see, there are a number of people who regularly join, and they either watch it live, like Alyssa. Hi Alyssa, my lovely. So they know to jump on and say hi straight away. And some of them will interact and some of them don't. And both is the right answer. I probably am going to fiddle with my hair a lot more than I would normally do. Mainly because for some reason, I would think I've kind of like been doing that with a balloon. It seems to have gone really static. So I keep getting wisps of hair flying in front of my face. So I apologise for fiddling with my hair. Hi, Joanne. Lovely to have you here as well. And also, if you are watching this on the recording, because I know a lot of people watch this back or listen to it back, do still join in, do still ask your questions. It was interesting because last week I held an open forum and just asked you to bring whatever. You know, I was quite happy to sit here in silence if we needed to, but we had a lot of people interacting. And if you've not gone back and had a look at last week's confidence conversation, then it's well worth a look, because even people who weren't watching it live have gone back and they've put their thoughts up there and what's gone on for them and what they've taken from it. And also I've had a number of emails from people that have said, oh, could you talk about this and could you talk about that? So I've now scheduled a number of different topics moving forward. So if, as I'm talking this evening, and you kind of watch through this, listen to this and think, oh, actually, I wonder if, and could we talk about, if you don't want to put it in below, which you're more than welcome to at any point, even if it's off topic. But equally, if you want to private message me on here or message me, hi, Melis. Is it Melis? Hi, Melis. How lovely to have you on board. You're new to the Facebook page. Welcome. But on the email list. It's lovely to have you here. So feel free to either message me on here or send me an email, jules@juleswyman.com, because if you do have topics, if you do have questions, thoughts, comments, concerns that you want to bring to the table, then that's the purpose of this. It's half an hour maximum. I say that, but sometimes I overrun, so I apologise. I get excited. But it's for you. It's to support you and do what I can to give back for those of you who show up. And I know that there are a lot of you that watch these videos and listen to these videos and don't comment. Because I've had people come up to me and say stuff in the street and various different things where this is concerned. So I know that they are being watched. So I know that people do get value, which is great. And I know that people get a lot of value from the interaction as well. Even if it is simply saying hi and saying that you're new to the Facebook page, but you're on the email list, because that reminds me then to say, if, unlike Melis, you're not on the email list, then you can head over to my website, juleswyman.com. And on there, you'll see it says the 7 Keys of Confidence, which you can download for free. You just hand over your email address. And then once you've got that, if you then want to stay on the mailing list, you don't have to do anything, because then I'll send out once or twice a month. I send out information and inspiration and thoughts on things to help and guide you. And if you choose to come off that at any point, you can, of course, hit unsubscribe with no problems at all. So for those of you who are new as well, just so that you know, the first 5 minutes-ish, the reason I kind of do all of the housekeeping rules and repeat that every week is that it does take a while for Facebook to kind of send out all the notifications to let people know that this is live. So I always like to give a bit of breathing space to allow people to join. And equally, there is a bit of a time delay as well. So, Alison, hello, Alison. You're on the email list, but first time on Facebook. How lovely to have you on board as well. So those of you that are joining, as you can see, it's lovely if you just drop down and say hello, and I can give you a shout out. Hey, Carly, how lovely to have you on board, my lovely. I hope you are enjoying your work and all of the fun that is bringing to you. So, cheers. And my peppermint green tea. I am going to, and Carly, I'm not going to you or say anything else about you personally. That sounded really ominous. But what I meant by that is if you stay on this session all the time, for this evening, that is, and want to share anything, because some of what I'm about to say is very relevant to your journey. So if you want to share anything, then please do drop down. It'd be fantastic if you wanted to. And equally, if you want to sit and just listen or watch, then absolutely that's fine too. Feel free. Thank you very much, my darling. I appreciate that a lot. Okay, so what's stopping you? Now, it's a very kind of generic sort of statement to have made, what's stopping you. But what I mean by that is I hear people, they might be talking about it might be as lofty as, they've got these massive dreams and ambitions and goals and things that they want to do. But they haven't. It might be that they really want to retrain for a particular career, which was Carly's journey. It might be that they want to, that you want to just change jobs or leave job or set up your own business, become a lady or gentleman of leisure. It may be that you want to go and study a particular course, or it may be that you want to leave a relationship or get into a relationship, or there are so many different things that people say that they want to do. And quite often what I notice in coaching conversations is that then people will start to say things like, well, I know what I need to do, but I know what I want to do, but or I can't do it, or I don't even know where to start. And so that's why I'm kind of keeping it as a broad topic and giving people the opportunity to chip in with this. So Carly, as you've said, feel free. I will use, because I didn't know you were going to be on here, so I have actually written something else down earlier, but I will share the start of your story anyway. Because Carly was one of those people that was in a job that it was an okay job. She was, she was okay, doing okay in it, not any great shakes where that was concerned. But it wasn't her life passion. It wasn't something that lit her up or made her sing with joy and passion. And believe me, Carly can sing with joy and passion. And it was, we had our very first phone conversation was she explained how she was kind of feeling. And I don't think this was the phrase that you used, Carly, but it's what's popped into my head. Around feeling stuck and life's not moving forward. And again, they're phrases that I hear very often. And so we had a conversation about it. And then Carly said actually that she'd got this dream. What she wanted to do was go off and she actually wanted to be a drama teacher. But, I can't do that. I'm in my late 20s now and it's, the boat sailed on that one, etc. Well, that was probably about 2.5, 3 years ago, I think, if my timeline is correct. And about 18 months ago, maybe roughly about that, I think, Carly started her first job as a newly qualified teacher and then proceeded to get promoted as well within the first year. So she's done extremely well. And obviously to do that, she had to do something, she had to leave her job. She had to do the training, etc., etc. It wasn't a case of just going from one to the other. But quite often what happens is when people have these ideas, when people have these dreams, these goals, these ambitions, or however you want to describe them, is you tell me actually. You tell me, what do you think is the number one reason that stops people? What do you think is stopping you? When you think about that thing, whether it is career-based, whether it is, maybe it might be health-based or relationship-based, financial-based, it could be in all sorts of different things. What do you think is stopping you, honestly? Just jot down there. Just one word. See if you can get it down to one word or a couple of words. I'm hugging my tea because it's really cold in here this evening. Temperature's dropped in the UK. I don't like it when it gets cold. So yeah, what do you think is the one thing that's stopping you? Before I start sharing what I think it is, because I think there's at least two things. And Carly, having been on the journey herself, came straight to it. If things don't turn out as planned, Carly's gone straight for fear. I know it does take a little while for people to be able to type and things as well. So I would say that the number one reason actually is fear, which is also linked, Melis, to belief, as you've put, and also linked to what you've put, Alyssa, around fear of it not turning out as planned. So that's what it is. If things don't turn out as planned, then what am I going to do then? Which is going to be based in a fear, and a belief is a fear as well, or rather fear is a belief. And that's the first thing that I want to offer out as to what's stopping us. And something that it never fails to amaze me, and with the wonderful ladies, I've been volunteering at a wonderful charity in York today called Kira. And I volunteer there every month and do a day's coaching for their members there. And all of the ladies that I spoke to today, the things that's stopping them are fear, and fear in a multiple of different ways. But what I've noticed, and Carly's story is no exception, and there's another lady who I had a conversation with her, I think that might be coming up to 2 years ago, potentially, or it might have been last year. My time frame's gone, but anyway. And the thing that she really wanted to do was leave a very unhappy marriage. And she had 2 young children and didn't really know what to do. And again, the conversation came down to that fear. And that fear can be around what if it doesn't work out as planned, as you said, Alyssa, or it may be fear of, well, what will other people think? It could be fear for your own safety or security, and that could be based in finances. I know that when I left my marriage, that was exactly my thing. It was, can I afford to live on my own? Can I afford to provide for myself? So these fears can come up in a lot of different ways. But the one thing that I've noticed that helps us over and over again is when we become practical, when we become really logistical and practical with things. So say, for example, every time my fear came up about, yeah, but I can't leave because I'm not going to be able to afford to live on my own, I immediately went and checked my finances. So I checked the outgoings, I checked the incomings, because obviously working for myself, I don't have a regular income. But I checked things out, and I checked things out historically, so I could see roughly how much I could afford each month, and all of those things, and got really practical with it, really pragmatic with the whole thing. And anytime this kind of fear came up and went, oh, I then immediately went back and looked at, okay, well, what's the truth here? What are the facts that I have that I can hold on to? And there are so many different other techniques. A lot of them I've gone through before. The what if game, the worst case scenario, best case scenario game, all of those different things that I've spoken about that relate to fear that are on various videos. So I'm afraid I can't reference a particular one. But the key thing with it is about, if you're thinking that something's stopping you, is okay, well, check in with yourself. What's really going on here? And can you get practical about it? So again, if we look at it from the story I shared about Carly, the practical side of it was, okay, well, you don't have to just jump, hand your notice in on that particular job. Let's look at the practicals. What can you do? How can you get any funding? What will you need to study? What do you need to revise now? Oh, I love the fact that you guys are all talking to each other now. That's really cute. Hi, Caroline. And when you get practical, you can then start to walk through those steps bit by bit, just one bit at a time. You can't do 3 or 4 things at a time. You can only do the next one bit and the next one bit and the next one bit. So that's the first thing that I would really suggest to you, is to start really get clear for what those fears are. And then start to look at the practical side of things. So Caroline, you've got a fear. I have a fear with anxiety. Now, that's a very interesting way of phrasing it. And if we were working one-on-one, Caroline, I'd want to kind of dig into that a little bit more, because I have a fear with anxiety. Is it a fear of anxiety, or that you get anxious? Because there's lots of different ways of looking at this. And one of the key things, and if you don't know this already, if you've got a pen and paper, I would invite you to write down fear, as in, I love the fact that you just said yes. Unfortunately, Caroline, there's a time delay, so I don't know what your yes specifically relates to in that little bit of what I just said. Sorry. But if you write the word fear down with FEAR, so on top of each other. And there's loads of different acronyms that I find really useful where this is concerned. And the one that I learned years ago, I think it originates from Louise Hay, which is that fear actually stands for, it's an acronym that stands for false evidence appearing real. So it's a little bit like having a nightmare. I'm sure that many of us have been asleep and had a nightmare, and in that nightmare it feels real. It absolutely feels real, 100%, and you're there and that's what's going on. But then at some point you open your eyes and it's kind of like, oh, okay, it's not real. Even though, and I've experienced this myself, of my breathing may still be going, or I might even be crying, which I have also experienced, or there could be various other things happening. But that doesn't mean to say that it is real. It's just that it's appearing real. And quite often with things such as panic and anxiety and stress and tension, not always, because I know that there's different variants with it, is very often is that we are I started thinking about a lady today then and thought, oh, actually I could share that, so I got distracted. But when we can recognize that even though we might have the breathing, or even though we may have the sweats or the tears, is that we need to check in whether the evidence that we have is actually real or whether it appears real. So I'll give you an example of this lady I was working with today who had lots of experience with anxiety, and there was particular things that were coming up for her. And it's kind of like it's not a magic trick, but in the sense, if you think about it, that the fear is going, look here, keep looking here, keep looking here, keep looking here. And that's what was getting her all anxious. And I just said, I get that that's there. And I can see that, and we can talk about that. And what about this one too? Let's look at this one. Let's look at this possibility. Now, both of them exist at the same time. Both of them are there, but then you can start to make a choice as to which one's going to be more helpful. So it's really useful though. So there's two things there. Is one, be practical, be as pragmatic as you can. What are the simplest, smallest steps that I need to take or need to be done in order to do something? So like with Carly, it was breaking it down bit by bit with, from studying through to finding accommodation, through to handing her notice in, all of those different things. It was literally little steps at a time until she was ready for the next step. The lady I was saying about earlier who was leaving a very unhappy marriage, the first thing for her was that she wanted to make sure that financially she could find a way. So before she said or did anything, she went and checked that out for herself. Then the next thing was wanting to look at the legals. Then the next thing was wanting to talk to family and getting them on board before she did the next step, and so on and so forth. So she kept it. And the more you keep it very pragmatic, because the brain wants to run off. And what the brain does is the brain will magnify something. So it will see the top of the mountain, and the focus is the top of the mountain. I have to get to the top of the mountain. That's where I've got to go. And for the brain, that's big. That is a big thing. To go from where I am now to the top of the mountain is a massive, massive step. Whereas when you look and go, okay, that's where I would like to go. So where am I now? And where's the path? Where's the path literally right here, right now for me to start walking on? And you might keep checking that you're heading in the right direction, or you might want to change mountains and change path if that option comes along. But it really is about, you're not looking up there at the mountain and going, I have to be there now, because that's not possible. Even if you get into a helicopter to go and get to the top of the mountain, your first step has still got to be getting into the helicopter. So it's always about that pragmatic process. Do that. The next thing is remembering that fear, the majority of the time, is false evidence appearing real. And I reiterate, I'm not disputing that it feels, and the experience that you can have can seem real, but it is like having a nightmare. And if you've ever been with a child when they've had a nightmare, and in the middle of the night, and you go and comfort them, you don't buy into the fear with them. You comfort them, you give them some nurturing, you give them some focus and some attention to kind of go, it's okay, it wasn't real. And we kind of have to start doing the same thing for ourselves as well. Let me know if this is making sense, by the way. Give me some thumbs up, or make some comments, or what are your thoughts so far? And whilst you're typing and in doing some thumbs across and things like that, there's lots of them going across now. Thank you very much. You can do hearts as well, or whatever it may be. I can't see who they are, so I can't individually say thank you, but thank you. So part of what I think is also attached to doing those little steps bit by bit is that we have to be aware of our standards and what we're the expectations that we have of ourselves within that. One of my business cards says, are your, there's lots of thumbs and hearts, thank you. It's gone out of my head. What would happen if you made your standards really achievable? Because very often we make these standards as being lofty and high and perfect and in control and focused and calmed, and we use all of these words that put a great deal of pressure on that particular outcome rather than making them achievable. Make your standards achievable. You can still have high standards, but make them achievable rather than, and again, it's about, I just need to take the next one step rather than thinking, right, I've got to get to the top of the mountain. Because quite often that's what's stopping you. What's stopping you from taking that first step is the fact that you're focusing on the end goal, and then the spiral of fears. Oh yeah, I know, but what will they think? And what if it goes wrong? And if it doesn't turn out as planned? And if they don't? And how? And blah, 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 blah. But when you can stay in the factual base of it, when you can stay in the pragmatic, this one step before you do your next one step, then it's going to make things far more digestible and easy for you to move forward with. Does that all make sense? I'm just very aware that the time seems to have just gone like that this evening, unless, no, I'm not reading it incorrectly. I just suddenly thought, because seeing it backwards, was I reading it incorrectly? So what are your thoughts? There's suddenly loads of thumbs up going there. So is this making sense? Let me know either with a simple yes, or if you would like to add more, what does this give you? Having this conversation this evening, what does it give you? Because the challenge that, and please feel free to type whilst I'm talking, the challenge that I have, as you can probably tell with how quickly the time has gone already, is that there are so many levels to what we're talking about, not as in one's higher or better than the other, but just different depths for different people, and people have come in with different stories and different ways of doing things. And that's what the important thing is my challenge is to keep it so that it at least give you something. It plants a seed of something for you to walk away with from the conversation this evening. So Melis has put, it's really about what others think in work, not believing in myself and support my clients. Thank you for that, Melis. So yeah, so I think that the first line of what you've put there of worrying about what other people think, again, is something that I interact with people on over and over and over and over again, that they are constantly worrying about what other people think. How's that working out for you? And the other thing that somebody once said to me is, if I'm worried about what you're thinking about me, then where's my focus? Is it on you or is it on me? Now, a lot of people would then say, well, my focus is on you. But it's not, is it? Because my focus is on about how I think, or how I imagine, how I'm assuming you are perceiving me. And so therefore my focus is on me. And how selfish and egotistical is that? Is that if every conversation where I could be having a conversation, but actually I'm like, yeah, but does she like me? Does she not like me? What about him? Does he think I'm any good at this? Then actually all I'm thinking about the whole time is about me. And actually the importance is to shift that into you. Not to you, to you. That doesn't make sense because I'm talking to you. But shift your focus to the other person. So like you said there, Melis, it's about believing in yourself and supporting your clients. So rather than whenever you can be with them and support them, that's when that's going to make a difference. Does that make sense, Melis? Does that give anything to what you were saying? But when we are worried about what other people think, we have to be thinking it first. So if I'm thinking they don't like me, or they're not going to like me, or they think I'm boring, it's amazing how many people think that they're boring. I'm not going to be of interest. I'm going to get it wrong. They're not going to like me because of that. When I'm thinking that you're thinking that, I have to be thinking it first. So I'm the one that creates my own discomfort. I'm the one who creates my own suffering, my own anxiety, my own stress, my own tension, because I'm the one that's going, yeah, I know, but what if, and do they, and they maybe don't, and what if? So therefore it's me that's churning that over and over and over in my head. You could be thinking anything and it doesn't matter. Yes, it does, as I don't want to avoid in order to engage with others. Absolutely. And it's a practice, because the way that this noggin works, the way that the thinking brain works, is it does think about itself all the time. That's what ego does. It's not bad, it's not wrong, it's not something that you have to get rid of or kill off. That's just what ego does. Is it thinks about itself all the time, keeps going over about itself. How does that relate to me? How does that relate to me? So what? How does that relate to me? What am I making that mean? It's just constantly doing that. So whenever you've noticed, and this is a practice that I did when I very first started out as a coach, is whenever I noticed I drifted off because my ego was, oh, did they think that was the best question ever? Is that I would then just take a nice deep breath in and go, that's interesting, and then bring my focus back to the person. So hopefully that kind of thing, and recognizing that it's a practice, because this does go off on all sorts of tangents and all sorts of creations. That's part of what it does. Carly's put, I'm most confident with the kids I teach, which is when I'm rarely worrying about what they think of me. I'm more focused on providing them with a good lesson. With colleagues, however, the worrying still happens from time to time. And it's interesting, Carly, that this is something that's very common with teachers, is that when they're with the kids and they're actually teaching their subject and they're fine, they're really thriving. But it's when they're not. It's when they're not teaching that lesson. It's when they are in the staff room, or whether they have somebody come in, another member of staff in the classroom with them, or whether it's that they have an Ofsted inspector or a substitute teacher or student teacher. And again, but it's the same process again, is be aware, what am I thinking? What am I thinking that they're thinking? Because I have to be thinking it first. And could I be thinking something different? So I hope that makes sense and helps you. So because I want to keep this simple, and I want to make sure that you have something to take away, I'm going to reiterate again that the three things for me of where you can start. If you know that you're it's something you're stopping, there's something that you want to do, you maybe feel like you're stuck in a rut or whatever it may be, is that the first thing is to get pragmatic. Be really practical. What are all the steps? And then look at, okay, what order do they go in? And therefore then you'll then know what the first step is. The second thing is remembering that whilst you may feel fearful, the majority of the time it's false evidence appearing real. It's not necessarily real. And the more that you can remember that, the more you can start to look at, it goes back to the first part of the pragmatic side of it all. And then the third thing is about making your standards achievable. So stop looking for the top of the mountain, look for the next one bit and make it achievable. Have high standards and make it achievable, something that you can do. And that doesn't mean that you get it perfect. That doesn't mean that you get it 100% right either. It's about making it achievable and making it as achievable as you possibly can when you can. So I'm hoping, let me know if that all makes sense and that you've did the whole thumb thing, or the heart thing. That's half a heart, if you want to as well. But what would be lovely to know is what's your one takeaway from this evening, having joined for this session. There's loads of thumbs going across again, which is lovely. Thank you very much. What is your one takeaway? And this is a great practice, because quite often I know that when I used to watch stuff like this, is that it kind of got to this point and I'll be like, oh, okay, I'm off now, and I wouldn't take any time. And actually what's so valuable is just to take a few minutes and say, this is my takeaway, and actually type it out, or handwrite it down if you don't want to type it out and share it with us, although it can be beneficial for other people as well. Is that just by doing that, rather than it just being a process that you're thinking about up here, your brain has the opportunity to see it in all its glory, in all its capacities, so that it can then start to look at it in a different way. So it's a helpful practice in any situation, even just before you go to bed at night. You know, what's my one takeaway from today? What was the greatest thing, or the loveliest thing, or the thing that made me smile, or whatever it may be. So what's your one takeaway? So Melis has put, stop the negative self-talk. I'm like, I need another half an hour now. It's not about stopping it. Look for something else as well. Look for both, because you can't have negative without positive. So when you hear the negative self-talk, look for the positive as well. Rather than it being an either or, look for both, so that you can at least live a proper balanced life then. So I am open to having even more emails, jules@juleswyman.com, and also messages on here. If you have a particular topic that you would really like me to cover, then please do let me know. I'm more than happy to bring that to the conversation. If you've got any further thoughts, or you're watching this on the recording, please remember at any point, even if I finish this and you're like, I've just had a light bulb moment and you want to share, then please come back on and do that, because that's what it's here for, and I always see them and I can interact with you there as well. But I'm trusting that, judging by the thumbs that went across, that you have got something from this evening's confidence conversation. And it's been a joy to have you here live, those of you who've been able to watch live, and those of you that have watched the recording as well. Thank you for taking the time, and I trust that you've got something from it. And nothing else to be added other than from found what you said, fear means very helpful, just wrote it down. Brilliant, Caroline, I love that. So please join me again next week. As far as I'm aware, there isn't anything that would stop me being here next week. So same time, same place. Oh, and the one thing I haven't said is, please remember that you can share this video. So if you've gone, actually, I'd really love to let my friends see this, then share it to your page. You can tag people in it, just as you would do any other Facebook post. And of course, next week when you come and join me, you can invite your friends along as well. Make sure you like the page before you leave, and I look forward to seeing you again next week. Take care, and in the meantime, actually, be kind to yourself, and I'll see you next week. Bye.